Good morning, everyone. I decided to go for a walk this morning and talk to you guys about renting in Miami. Now, I know quite a few people have left comments about, wanting to move to Miami and the fear of moving to Miami, not knowing where to start, all that good stuff. So, I decided that I would do a little video on the top 10 things you need to know if you're going to rent in Miami. Number one, the scams. Little disclaimer, I've only rented in South Florida, but I would imagine that it's the same everywhere. You have to be aware of scams. But in Miami, there are a ton of people always out there trying to scam you, so you have to be very alert about that. A lot of these people, they have apartments and maybe they're in foreclosure, or maybe they just found a vacant apartment and they are just showing it to people, taking deposits and stuff. And actually, I was scammed that way. You have to be very, very careful, whether you're looking for a roommate or whether you're just looking for an apartment on your own. You just have to be very careful of the scams. And that actually leads me into point number two. I mean, I guess that you would say that these are together, which would be do your research. I'm going to leave links in the description below, but you have to find out more information about the property that you are wanting to rent. For example, for me, what I now do is once I have an address, I search it online. I go to property search and I find out who the owner is, and I find out if they're in good standing, if they have any foreclosures, like what's their history. That's the first thing I do. So you have to do your research. I'm quick to Google a person. I will Google you in a second. I don't even need your last name. That's the scary part about it. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, just do your research on the person, because you never know. They might be a criminal. Their property might be in good standing, everything, but they might be little nuts. You don't know. They might have a criminal record. So also do your research on the person that you're going to rent from if you are able. Very important, because there are some crazy people, okay? Some really crazy people in the world, and you just don't want to rent from someone who's a little cuckoo. So be very careful about that. Unfortunately, it's not like you can check everybody out in their circle. I rented a room from a young lady, and actually we became friends, but her boyfriend was psycho. He was crazy, and that prompted me to leave, because he would come over and vandalize her car or break into the apartment, and I'm like, that's not cool. You don't do that. So you just gotta be careful. You don't even know like who, not only who you're renting from or who you're gonna be rooming with, but who they have in their lives. So that's also very important. Unfortunately, you just don't know all the time. But if you have time and you can actually take your time and look, maybe spend a little time with that person before you actually move in, go to lunch with them, find out more information, probe, find out about their relationships and family and friends, and find out if anyone associated with them is actually psycho. So that's important too. Of course, you do want to also move in with someone who has a job. That's very important, because sometimes these people will look for a roommate type situation and have you footing all the bills. That's never happened to me, but I've heard of terrible horror stories. So you have to be very careful when it comes to that. And ladies, you might want to also do a search on sex offenders in your neighborhood, especially if you have kids. Just make sure the crime rate is not too bad and there are no like pedophiles like on your block. Maybe your next door neighbor, you never know. So just be very careful when you're renting that apartments here in Miami. Third thing I want to talk about is the monies you will need to move in. It's pretty ridiculous, but you will likely, I would say 90% of the time, you will need first, last, and security deposit. And usually security deposit is the full sum of 1 month's rent. Not always, but most of the times. That is a lot of money. Up front, that's a lot of money, first, last, and deposit. So make sure you save up. Whatever you can afford a month, make sure you have at least 3 times that, basically. So number 4 is hidden gems. A lot of times you'll find really nice apartments just simply by driving through the neighborhoods that you want to live in. A lot of people don't want to post their property online, believe it or not. And they don't go to realtors. They'll just simply put a for rent sign in the window. And they prefer to rent to locals, to someone who already lives in that neighborhood or knows that neighborhood. Some people they just don't do the whole internet thing, posting on Craigslist or whatnot. So you'll find a lot of really nice apartments simply by driving through your desired neighborhoods. So keep that in mind. Number 5. So rent will go up unless you're renting from a private owner, like someone who owns a condo, or just like a private owner. 9 times out of 10 your rent will go up. If you're renting from like an association, a rental, what is it called, a property management company. I don't really know why this is. Maybe they just want to get people out and just have like a huge, I don't know. I don't get it. They probably just want as much money as possible, so they'll rent really high and they'll just keep going up until they can and see what they can get out of you. I don't know. I don't get it. People don't last long in apartments because the rent will keep going up every term. And the reason why I say every term is because some places allow you to rent for 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, depending. You just have to ask them. So if you're renting only for 6 months, just to get a feel of the place and see if you like it, well, after that 6 months, your rent is going to go up. And they don't care. I have a friend who her rent has gone up. Her rent will be going up $300. So sometimes it's not just a small amount. $10, $50, $100, $300. How do you jump on someone's rent? $300 doesn't make any sense, but that's actually what's happening to her, and she has to move out. So I mean, that's just the way it is in Miami. So websites that I like to check out when I'm looking for a place to rent would be Craigslist and Zillow. I only pretty much stick with those two. Occasionally I'll find on Craigslist maybe a realtor who posts their own site, because sometimes these realtors have their own personal site where they rent their, they have properties that they rent to people. And that has worked for me as well. Once again, like I said earlier, yes, you can run into a lot of scam artists this way, but it's all about doing your research. I found some really cool places on Craigslist, and I really like Zillow as well. So you just have to be very careful. That leads me to my next point. One thing that I hate about looking for a place on Craigslist is they leave out details. They leave out details. They will not tell you everything. And it's like, when I find out, I'm not going to rent from you. So why not just be honest up front and tell me everything? They'll leave out specific important details. Like, one lady was renting a room, but she failed to mention that she has a whole family living with her. Grandma, grandpa, kids, husband. I don't want to live with all y'all. It's just, you just have to be careful. Get all the details up front when you're looking for a place to rent. Probe, ask a ton of questions, because like I said, people will leave out very important details. Those of you who like to live in those tall buildings, it doesn't even have to be super tall. I mean, just like an apartment building, period. Be very careful of places that ask you for a application fee. I don't believe in that. I have never paid to apply to live in a place. A lot of people do, but I will never. I can't say I will never. I don't want to ever pay a fee to apply, just simply to apply, because a lot of these places, believe it or not, have no availability, and they have no intention of actually renting to you, and they'll charge you anywhere between $25 and $300 to just apply. That's the application fee. Just to apply, you have to pay a fee. What kind of sense does that make? Miami. And a lot of these places will charge, if you're moving in with a roommate, a lot of these people will charge the application fee to both persons. So it's too much. But that kind of leads me to my next point. Like I said, I don't prefer to live in apartment buildings. I prefer to rent from people, private owners, like a person who has a condo and they're renting out their condo, or a person who has a guest house or something like that. That's just my preference. A lot of times these individuals, they're not greedy, usually. They won't go up every 6 months, every year on your rent. I lived in one place on the beach, a little studio efficiency, and I lived there for 3 years, and my landlady never went up on my rent. So I mean, that's the kind of situation you'll find when you rent from private owners. But I also rented a very nice condo in South Miami, and I was able to negotiate. So that's my next point. Try to negotiate. I mean, with private owners, you can do that. When you go to like an apartment building with a property management company, they're not so willing to negotiate the rental price with you, but private owners will negotiate. Now, I know I mentioned this already before, but I wanted to bring it up again. Do not leave out the possibility of renting with a friend or finding a roommate type of situation, because like I said, to me, Miami is very expensive. But if you can find a roommate, think about it. Your expenses are cut literally in half. Just don't rule that possibility out, because it could be more cost effective for you. And last but not least, move fast. I hate to say it, but think about it this way. Everyone moves to Miami. Everyone wants to live in Miami. It's a lot of people in Miami. I don't want to use the word crowded, but a lot of people flock here, and places do not last long. So if you find a nice place, move fast. Do your research on the spot. Like, I don't care if you're walking through the apartment, start Googling it right then and there. It's funny, but I'm serious, because believe it or not, when these people say, oh, it's going fast, they are serious. And a lot of these people are, they're fair. It's not unfortunate, but they're fair. So if someone else made an appointment before you to go look at the apartment, they'll say, listen, I have someone else already coming to look at the apartment. So if they don't like it, then I'll call you. And it's like, oh man, basically you just lost that place. That's how it works here. So you do have to move fast. You do not have time to sit and think a long time. That's just the truth. Yes, a lot of places will pop up and come up, but if you have a small little limited area that you prefer to live, you're definitely gonna have to move fast. If you're the type of person who, you don't care where you live in Miami, south, west, east, north, doesn't matter to you, then take your time. You have all the time in the world. But for me, I like a specific area of Miami. I like to stick with this area, which is the east side. And when I find a hidden gem, man, I'm on it. Like, I make moves. I'm very quick about it. And that's just how you have to be, because someone else can beat you out. That's pretty much all I have for now. I'm sorry, if you guys have more questions, you can always ask me. Sorry I couldn't be more specific. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, sorry I haven't been on here in a while at work, but I'll try to post a little bit more frequently. And until next time, you guys know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe. See you guys later.